You're listening to SM Media, the number one place for exclusive Scottish football content.
Hi folks, and welcome to the latest episode of the SM Media Scottish Football Show Extra. I'm Scott McPike. It's an absolute pleasure to be your host as always. I'm delighted to welcome this week's special guest. A very busy man this week. He's had a lot of media appearances, but he's always got time for us. It's a pleasure to welcome Drumchapel United co-manager Adam Hopes. Adam, welcome to the show. Thanks very much for coming on. I know you're a busy man.
Sorry, Scott, can you repeat that? You broke up there.
I'll just start the intro there, all right? Again.
Right.
Hi folks, and welcome to the latest episode of the SM Media Scottish Football Show Extra. I'm Scott McPike. It's an absolute pleasure to be your host as always. I'm greatly appreciated to be joined by the Drumchapel United co-manager Adam Hopes. Adam, I know you're a very busy man, and thank you for giving up your time this week.
No problem, mate.
How are we?
Good, mate. Yourself?
Aye, not bad, mate. I know you're a very busy man. I think I've seen you in every newspaper, every media platform. You've been a busy man, but no wonder this is some occasion coming up this weekend.
No, it definitely is, Scott. It's surreal stuff. You know that when you set your stall at the start of the season, you kind of think to yourself, a couple of decent wee draws, and we'll maybe get into round two, a push round three, and then I'm speaking to you, hoping to get into round five. Had the opportunity of being in the draw, sorry, with all the Premiership teams. So it's been crazy, but it's a good time for the club.
And obviously as well, like because the way you had to get into the Scottish Cup, obviously winning the Strathclyde Cup last year, it must give you the motivation to like try and get the SFA licence, and this be a regular occurrence every year, surely.
Aye, well, listen, the objective has always been to get our SFA licence, but it doesn't matter how hard we try. There just always seems to be some sort of obstacle if it's Glasgow Live for the City kit. I don't really know what it is. See, to be honest with you, see what the rubbish. I'm going to use the word rubbish. I've been hit with why things aren't happening, because I've actually got as a sponsor to put in two terrace stands. It's a company I'm friendly with, Ashton Building Systems. And he's on me all the time. Adam, when can we get these in place? When can I get the scat tests and all that kind of stuff done to see what's under the tarmac? And that Colin Boyd was up seeing us at pre-season when we played the Buffs. And Colin's like, wow, Hopey, what a difference with the dugouts and spectator barrier, all the privacy net and round the fence. And he's like, you get terracing for up to 100 spectators and you're ready to go for your licence. And we're still waiting, not being able to apply. So I really don't know where we're at in that front, but what I do know is hopefully by season 24-25, Drumchapel United will be a licensed club, and we can get this occasion hopefully to look forward to for the rest of the club's days, basically.
Adam, obviously Saturday's going to be a big occasion. Weather permitting, obviously there is a lot of snow forecast over there, and we've seen obviously a lot of games being called off during the week. But what's it kind of like? Are you got high hopes for the game being on?
Well, at this present moment, I don't really know. I would probably have to say it's in major doubt. But again, that comes down to what's going on at Elgin. I can't control anything that goes on there. But what I do know is I knew the forecast was going to be quite heavy, frosty and snow at Elgin. And I'm obviously led to believe they've got a pitch cover. And that hasn't been used. So it's a wee bit disappointing, because if you're preparing for a game in the last 32 of the Scottish, you would think, obviously, if I was a groundsman, I'd be covering the pitch to protect it so that it's got every chance of being on. Because the disappointing thing for us is, Scott, we potentially could be in Glasgow with perfect weather for a game of football, and the weather's the same in Elgin. So the weather's to be really good on Saturday. So I think if both clubs were to agree to leave it to a pitch inspection on Saturday, it would maybe have a teeny wee chance. But just with everything that's at risk with ourselves, obviously, because fans, it's not as if it's an hour down the road. You're 4 hours up north. So it's unfortunate the game will probably get a decision made on it tomorrow. But we'll just need to wait and see what tomorrow brings.
Yeah, you've obviously got some players in the team as well that had experience of playing in that big occasion. How's the team kind of preparing for it?
Listen, Scott, everybody's buzzing, so I don't know if people want to think this is all cliche, right? But we actually haven't changed anything about how we approach a game, or training, or we have not changed a single thing, because obviously the way we implement it and get it across to the boys is we need to win every week. So this is just basically another game. Obviously, we're playing FC Edinburgh in the last round. We managed to get a cinema room, and we obviously done a wee bit of video and analysis on them, gave them respect that they deserve. They're a League One club who are flying in League One. And obviously Elgin, they're top three in League Two. Done the same with them on Tuesday night. We've done a bit of video on them in the cinema room. So that's the only adjustments that we've made to how we prepare for the game. And the only reason we've done that is because they're obviously a league club. With them being League One and League Two, we want to obviously approach it in a professional manner. So that if it's not to be, then at least we can say as coaches we've done everything the way it should be done, and we'll just fell short.
We did have a few games during the midweek. We'll start on Wednesday. A dominating performance from Hearts, a 5-0 victory over Aberdeen. Adam, we'll start with Hearts. First of all, very clinical, a lot of really good performances there. They're making third their own.
I think Robbie Nielsen's done a fantastic job there. I really do. I think Hearts are they're definitely one of the better teams in the league. But I watched Jim Goodwin's interview after the game, and he's obviously said 6 chances, 5 goals. I mean, that's a hard pill to swallow. Being a manager for another team, getting 6 chances and scoring 5 goals against you. I never seen the game, obviously, but Jim Goodwin's he's a gaffer I quite like. He seems to be right to the point and quite honest. And unfortunately, I mean, Aberdeen can be quite ruthless with their gaffers, and I don't know how that's going to sit. With Aberdeen, especially when they've got so much ambition of Aberdeen in regards to where they want to be and stuff like that. So that's a tough one for Aberdeen to take last night.
It's a struggle for Aberdeen though, because you look at Sunday against Rangers and they were in the game. They were, you know what I mean? They were making it tough for Rangers. They had a great chance of qualifying for the final. But then is that like defensive tiring, because they were so open at the back at times? It was unbelievable. I know they had obviously the goalkeeper missing and the Anthony Stewart was suspended, but how does that change in the space like where you give yourself a real opportunity of getting to a cup final and then 3 days later you're so far off it?
I don't know. I think see big cup games. I think they can obviously have an effect in teams. I've experienced it as a manager when you go into a big game and then you go back to your bread and butter, and obviously it doesn't quite work out for you, and you maybe end up on the wrong side of a game of football. But I think they've obviously got a big game in Monday night against Darvel, and if Jim's in the dugout, he has to win it. He has to win it, and Darvel have no pressure on them whatsoever.
No
one's expecting Darvel to win. No one. But I know that I was on a podcast with Mick, and obviously he believes, and the group of the players that Darvel believe. And see, the thing is, it can happen. It doesn't matter how it can happen. And I'll never forget Roy Keane's debut for Celtic. And they played Clyde at Broadwood, and Clyde beat them 2-1. And the beauty of that story is, see that squad that Graham Roberts assembled for Clyde, that was all through open trials. That was like guys, Felix Junior, there was a couple of amateur, and because I remember I played with a couple of guys and they were playing a pre-season friendly against Rio Ferdinand and Man U.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how's that happened? And then that season they went and beat Celtic 2-1 in Roy Keane's debut. So certainly Darvel will fancy it, especially at Darvel. And how are Aberdeen going to react after a sore one?
Looking at Hearts, so obviously their goals kind of spread out across the team as well when they're getting players back. Shanklin's been in terrific form. How impressed have you been with Hearts the past few weeks?
I have. I've been very impressed with Hearts, and Barry Mackay's been exceptional for them. He's very aggressive going forward. He's chipping in with goals, he's assisting goals, and obviously, as you said, Shanklin's he's probably the biggest signing for them in regards to return. They're getting some return out of him, and he's the captain now as well, isn't he? That Gordon's out.
Yeah.
They're getting a great return out of him. So no, Hearts are doing fine. And I think they've basically, as you said at the start, they've made third their own, in my opinion.
Big occasion for them on Sunday as well that we'll touch on later on. But we'll go to Rugby Park for the next game. I think there's a lot. We could pack through a lot in this game because I think a lot of things they talked about here. Kilmarnock 2, Rangers 3. Rangers weathered an early storm. Get back into the game. A double from Morelos and a goal from Ryan Kent. Kilmarnock, though, I think they gave a good account of themselves. Obviously, the red card for Danny Armstrong, I think, kind of killed their chances off. But they didn't give up. They were bold. McInnes played 2 up front. Rangers first. Obviously, it continues this good run that Michael Beale's been on since taking over. There were good points, I think, going forward. Morelos and Kent were pretty good. I thought Sakala had a good game as well. The big notice for Rangers, though, was at the back, particularly at cross balls, because they were all over the place in the first wee while.
Aye, they were. I mean, see, I'm going to touch on Kilmarnock, but the last 3 games they've played, they've been beat 2-0 Celtic, 2-0 Celtic, and then obviously 3-2 Rangers. They've got to get a lot of credit for that.
Oh,
I mean,
definitely.
going back to back against Celtic, right? I mean, the speed that Ange has got Celtic playing, it's crazy at times. And sometimes if I ever watch Celtic, you're thinking how they could basically make this game whatever they want. And then obviously with Rangers are going through that period. Obviously, Beale's trying to put his mark in things. The only good thing I would say about Beale going into Rangers is obviously the majority of the squad know Beale.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously you've got people ranting and raving about Beale worldwide, about how good a coach and stuff like that he is, and now he's became a gaffer. So Kilmarnock need to get a bit of credit for that and hopefully start building and start picking up points and getting up the table, because I certainly think what I've seen of them in the last couple of games, they certainly deserve to be higher up in the league table with the position would tell you.
Yeah, I mean, with Kilmarnock, you're not going to get your season doesn't revolve around playing against Rangers and Celtic, but their next 2
That's a free
games,
hit.
I think their next 2 games are huge because they play Ross County and Dundee United in their next 2 games. Win both of them, that could be huge.
Oh, brilliant! That'd be brilliant for Kilmarnock.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, that's what they'll be looking for, and I think Derek McInnes and the players need to take confidence with their performances against Rangers and Celtic, because at the end of the day, it's a free hit.
Yeah, definitely. What about Rangers though? Like, obviously, the goalkeeper situation is becoming, well, it's been a problem for a while. I'm sure we can both agree on that. But McLaughlin and McGregor, he's rotating them. That gives me the suggestion that he's not overly sure what one he wants to go with. Do you know what I mean?
I don't know. I thought Beale came out and basically said that McGregor was his number one, but he was obviously giving him a wee bit of a rest and stuff like that, and rotating him a wee bit with McLaughlin. But I don't know. I think Rangers have always had a good goalie, a good number one.
Yeah.
For any time I've been about. So I think it's maybe about time to start introducing the boy McCrory into the fold, because all I hear is people talking good about him. I actually don't follow Rangers probably the way I maybe used to, obviously, because of the position I'm in now with Drumchapel. But I've only heard good things about Robbie McCrory. So, in my opinion, it's a matter of getting him in and getting him into the side and seeing what he's all about. And hopefully he can claim the number one jersey moving forward.
What about obviously the news today that they're close to signing Todd Cantwell? There's a couple of talks about deals for Morgan Whittaker and Nicholas Raskin. Their recruitment has to be spot on this window and then in the summer. Todd Cantwell seems to fit the bill. He's a bit of a creative player. Obviously, there's a big risk in terms of like the way that a couple of years ago this guy was getting touted for 40 million, and now Rangers are getting him for buttons compared to that. Do you know what I mean? So there is a risk. Do you think that is what Rangers need? Like, obviously, when you look at Rangers, the big difference I've said between Celtic and Rangers over the past season has been the squad depth. Rangers bench last night was really, really devoid of real. If they didn't obviously fight back and what Beale's been prone to do in the past few weeks, where's your spark coming for the bench?
No, you're so right. There's the recruitment needs to be right. Because Rangers and Celtic, the demand for the fans and everything, you just need to win. And that's something that Rangers have let themselves down with, in my opinion, has been the recruitment. It's been poor. There's only a small handful of people here and there that have came in that have been worth coming to the club. But obviously with Cantwell, he's obviously one that I think people should be excited about, just for the sole reason being the things I've heard about him from Norwich and that.
Yeah.
He's meant to be different class, the boy, but he just doesn't want to be at Norwich. Don't know for what reason, I don't know why, but apparently he's not wanting to be there. And he's obviously wanting to move, and it's obviously looking likely that it is going to be Rangers. So I think that could be a good piece of business for Rangers. Maybe Beale might get the best out and get his career up and running again, and then do the usual couple of years down south again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the big thing with this is that Beale knows him. Beale was talking about him a couple of weeks ago that he saw him when he was at Liverpool under-23s. I think he played against him, and he's followed him ever since. Like, it seems a bit more that Beale, like the manager, has more of a say in like bringing the players in. I think he's been very vocal about bringing in the boy Whittaker from Swansea. Mm-hmm. I think there seems to be I do think this is a big kind of make or break window for Rangers, but I'm liking what I'm seeing in terms of it seems to be a bit more like there's a dialogue between the manager and the director of football, who I've been very critical of in the past few months. There seems to be a bit more of the manager is a bit more of an input. And again, I mean, Bale's done everything right so far. Like, he's come in.
Aye.
Do you know what I mean? They're showing these signs of getting back into games. They're more alert in the second half. The one thing Rangers need to do is stop this, get into a game earlier, because that's going to bite you in the backside.
See, the thing is, Scott, it's obviously a shame for a Rangers point of view that Celtic just didn't let it slip.
Yeah.
And I said this obviously probably months ago. I said that I believe Celtic will win the league, and my reasons for saying that is because where do I see Celtic losing 3 games?
Mm-hmm.
I don't see them losing 3 games, and I see Rangers winning every game for when I said it to the end of the season. Not at the time, maybe different under Beale, who knows? But I just think that in terms of the league, Rangers are going to be doing extremely well to catch Celtic in any way, shape or form.
Yeah, speaking of Celtic, obviously Celtic played on Wednesday night as well, a 4-0 victory over St Mirren. Again, just a couple of tactical tweaks about, obviously, he moved Juranovic to left back, Johnson came into right back, and there was a lot more width. The boy Kobayashi, I thought, was really good at the centre of defence in his debut. And I thought Kyogo in particular, some of it, his 2 goals, his movement, his IQ just to get in the right positions is just brilliant.
I seen his I don't know if it was his first or second goal, but I was like, nah, that's not right. The lob,
that was the first
6 yards out at the angle.
The pass is first class as well.
Aye, the Hatate.
Yeah.
I seen that, but see the finish. Obviously, I was a striker, and I'm thinking, right, how can he get that up and have it coming down with snow on it and in the net?
Mm-hmm.
That was some finish with Kyogo.
I think that's the thing as well with Kyogo. Like, he's so quick. Like, his decision making, he's a yard quicker. He's got everything off it. Like, at times, just his movement and the way he can get in front of a defender. So he's just so alert. I think he's a top player.
I don't obviously watch a lot of Celtic, right? But I hear people saying that is it Giacomakis or something? The guy who's meant to be a $4 million bid for someone or something.
Very likely to be leaving, yeah.
Aye, right. Well, everybody's obviously saying, well, I'm hearing people saying that he's the best striker at Parkhead, and I'm like, well, what about any time I've seen Celtic, Kyogo sticks out like a sore thumb. Yes, it is quiet games, but what footballer has quiet? Every footballer has quiet games sometimes. Everybody's not going to be bang at it all the time. But certainly, I think any time I've seen Kyogo, he looks a league above anybody else that's playing in that front line for Celtic.
Yeah, I think I've said this before. Like, he's sort of got everything that. Like, I think Giacomakis, like, he's very good inside the penalty box. Like, he's a old-fashioned striker. Like, he'll finish anything. Like, if you need a goal with 10 minutes to go, you're putting on Giacomakis probably before anybody. And Celtic will need to replace that, because I think it depends. With Kyogo, you've got a bit of everything he can do. He can do the flair bit. He can finish, a terrific finisher, but he's got so much in his game. And with Giacomakis, he's not just it's not just that as well. He's a big option, like, to bring off the bench and things like that. And Celtic have been so good at recruitment in the past 18 months.
Aye.
He doesn't want to be there.
Aye, Postecoglou's obviously came in, and see, I don't know. Listen, you only can take what you read and what we hear people talking about, right? So obviously, everybody says the reason Brendan Rodgers left Celtic was because he was wanting to sign players, but he wasn't allowed to sign them. And obviously, Peter Lawwell was maybe signing players and stuff like that. And then obviously, you hear when Giovanni Van Bronckhorst was at Rangers, that's Ross Wilson making the signings, and you're like, obviously the money at that level of football's like completely different now to this world. But I don't know how I'd feel about being a manager of a football team and have someone tell me who they're signing, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I can understand why Brendan Rodgers left, and maybe in the manner that he did. I know obviously Celtic fans didn't like it, but people need to take the Celtic goggles off and maybe realise that there was a reason why Brendan Rodgers maybe left the way he did. Because if he's at Peter Lawwell's door wanting this guy, that guy, and the next guy, and he's basically getting told no, then how Brendan Rodgers done a quadruple treble? So where do you go after that if you're not allowed to bring the players in that you want? And then, well, Giovanni, I don't really have an excuse for Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, to be honest with you, because apart from him taking the club to Seville and obviously well done winning the Scottish Cup, but the same goes there. That what's the point in being a manager if you've got someone signing players for you?
Yeah, and that's why I've been.
And obviously I think Postecoglou's went in and he's obviously had to work with different staff, not his own staff, and he's just went to the board and went, well, look, if this is going to happen here, then I need you to trust me, and vice versa. I think obviously Bill will maybe have a better relationship with Ross Wilson than what Giovanni maybe had, as horrible as it may sound. And he's obviously, Bill's probably said to Ross Wilson, listen, if I'm going to be in here, then you're going to need to sign the players that I want you to sign. You won't be signing the players that you want to sign. So there's tons of things in there that you could look at, but I certainly think the way Celtic and Rangers are certainly moving forward now in regards to signings, it seems like the managers are making them, and it's obviously shown for Ange Postecoglou anyhow, but it remains to be seen how it goes for Bill.
I think the thing with Celtic as well as with Postecoglou, like when he's bringing players in, they seem to be for the system he's implementing, and I don't think you can say the same about Rangers. I wondered in the summer, where does Rabi Matondo, for example, fit into Rangers' system? Do you know what I mean?
Doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Yeah. And
I mean, the guy can't even get on the bench, and no disrespect, he's a high earner, and he's probably, I don't know if he's even played 20 minutes under Bill in 8 games. So that would tell you that it's the end of the road for him. And then touching on what you said, I mean, Ange Postecoglou signing guy. Like, remember when he first came to Celtic, they were getting hamstring injuries left, right, and centre.
Yeah.
For being a former player, obviously that would insinuate the intensity levels that he's got them up in Lennoxtown doing at training. Do you know what I mean? And when Celtic are bang at it, you can see his philosophy, you can see exactly how the guy wants his teams to play. And I think he's got that bit of aura about him that, see if the players aren't going to buy into it, then well, there's only one place for them, and I think that's been the main success for Ange Postecoglou, the way he's got his team playing and buying into his philosophy of play.
Yeah, Warden St Mirren, obviously, I think obviously a 4-0 score line will be hard to take, but they can be so happy with the start with their season so far, and they did give a good account of themselves. And again, it's like Kilmarnock, they're not going to be judged in performances against Celtic, but again, they've been really good so far this season.
They have. It's a team I'd certainly say is punched above their weight so far, and credit to them, because it's obviously difficult when you've got Aberdeen, Hearts, and Hibs all trying to push for that third place. And obviously, listen, I'm not going to forget Livy. I mean, well, that's incredible what's happening at Livy this season. I think they actually sitting fourth.
Yeah.
They're sitting fourth, and they'll probably, well, I'd imagine they'll have a game in hand after the games last night. Their game last night being postponed. So whatever David Martindale's doing in there, it's obviously working. And again, they're probably one of the sides with maybe one of the lesser budgets in the league. And they seem to be definitely punching above their weight, just as well as St Mirren.
Yeah. Well, I want to get your thoughts, and obviously the Livingston Dundee United game being postponed, because obviously throughout the day we were being told that there's a possibility this game will have to go through another inspection. It passed the 3 o'clock inspection. An hour before the game was postponed because of a frozen pitch. Now, I've never worked in a groundsman. I'm not an outdoors person. I don't understand how, but I'm not I don't like groundsmen do a terrific job and things like that, but how does that happen? How does it pass a 3 o'clock inspection, and then an hour before, when probably everybody that's going to the game has made their way to the game, made their journey and things like that? How does that become? How's that fair on the fans and the players and everybody involved for the game to be called off an hour before?
I don't know. That obviously, I've seen pictures. I've not read into it, right? Believe it or not, I'm not anti-football, right? But I'm more interested in what's going on here than obviously all the other stuff. But I seen a picture of officials trying to dig a key into the Astrograss. So the only thing that Astro's obviously quite a simple one. I mean, it's either too hard and slippy to play, or it's fine, or there's snow on it.
Yeah.
I can only think that I honestly don't know if they get sprinklers in. If they put sprinklers on, is the water for the sprinklers frozen with the temperatures dropping so low last night? Or there's so many things that you would think. Again, this is me going back to what I was touching on in Elgin. If you're in any doubt of a game being on due to the weather, cover your pitch.
Yes.
See AstroTurf, right? You can cover that, no problem. Cover it. The frost will not affect it. It's not to say that the game would maybe need to get abandoned or whatever because of how low the temperatures are during the game, but at least give the game a chance of being on. But if you cover the pitch, the game's on, it's AstroTurf.
We did have a couple of West of Scotland games to talk about. First couple of games in the Premier Division, Clydebank 4, Atherley 0 and Troon 0, Beath Juniors 1. Two big results. Obviously, a lot of games were called off last night, but those two games were big results, particularly for Clyde and Beath.
Aye. I think it was only a matter of time before Clydebank have been a wee bit each a peachy start, haven't they? They've been a wee good result, bad result, good result, bad result. But I think it's only a matter of time before they start to click. I do believe that. And obviously they showed it last night. That's a great win because Arthurlie over the last 4 or 5 weeks have certainly been making it difficult for teams and picking up points. And then Beeve, I mean, I was actually speaking to Straney yesterday. It's funny because you heard so much about Beef coming into the season, rumours and stuff like that, but them not having as much money and this, that, the next thing, and you're kind of you're seeing Straney taking the job, and you're thinking, oh, is that maybe the right thing for you to be doing, Straney? But by all manner of means, he's flying. I mean, I think.
Tremendous.
Listen, I think there might be people that hate me for saying this, right? But football's an opinionated game. I genuinely can't see past Darvel. I just can't see past Darvel, right? And my reasons for that is Darvel maybe only lose a couple of games here and there, maybe draw a couple of games here and there, but predominantly they're going to win most of the games. And then Talbot look as if they're going to need to play catch up. Beeve and Paul are behind, and Darvel's played less games than them. So I just, and as regards to the West of Scotland Premier League, I just can't see past Darvel. And it'd probably be a good thing to give other people a chance or maybe try to win the league. I'm kidding on, but I do believe
they've got a lot of squad depth. Like
they do. I mean, that's the thing. See what Mick's got this season compared to last season. I remember last season there were there's so many injuries.
Yeah.
So many injuries.
They had a lot of games to play in a short space of time as well.
And then see, I think they managed, after maybe the first 3 months of the season or something, I think he was starting to get the squad back. And then obviously see for the run-in at the end, what the games, I think he was up and down with numbers as well. Whereas see this season, he's had a fresh start. He's maybe had 1 or 2 touch and go out of 22 or whatever he carries. And then they've managed to get off to a flyer, obviously.
Yeah.
But Beeve are certainly doing very well, in my opinion. Straney's done well down there. And obviously I think it'll only be a matter of time before the Bankies start to put a wee bit of a run together as well.
Yeah, I think as well. I think there's a lot of teams in behind that are really making a go of it, and it's the same in the first division. The big game was obviously St Cadoc's 3, Blantyre 2. I know you had an eye on that. Again, we've spoke so much about the first division being so stacked, and there's about 7 or 8 teams can win it. And St Cadoc's obviously had a really difficult result on Saturday, but it was a tight game by all reports. But they bounced back well, and that's a big 3 points for them.
Oh, it definitely is. I didn't even know. I didn't know St Cadoc's had a game until I done a podcast with their media man on Monday night, and he was telling me that they were playing in the Wednesday night. So, but I seen last night on Twitter that Blantyre scored in the 90th minute and the 92nd minute.
Yeah.
But listen, the game's been 3-0 St Cadoc's, and I think that was important that they won. After they'd been disappointed after getting beat off Bonington, who may I add are. Bonington, after was obviously giving them a bit of basically saying they were going to be getting relegation material, stuff like that. We played Bonington, right? we're 2-0 up in the first 10 minutes, and we managed to see the game at 3-2. So for people to say that about them, I think you agree. The last maybe 5 or 6 games have been picking up points. They're in a good position. Granted, they've played more games, but MD, who's a football man, you would rather have the points on the board. And the same goes for us. Obviously, we're trying to. Our aim is just to make sure we're in the top 3 now, because we're in every cup almost.
Mm-hmm.
The only cup we're not in is the Strathclyde Cup. We're in the West, the South, the Senior Scottish. So we're losing out in games. So we want to just make sure that we can keep picking up points and staying in that top 3, because it's going to hit us at the one time soon.
Do you look at that league as well, though? Like the likes of St Cadoc's, obviously they're stacked with talent. Gartcairn, they've made 2 really good signings during the week as well. Kilburn, are picking up again. We speak about it all the time. The league's so stacked in terms of, I mean, anybody can. We saw that during the weekend. Anybody can beat anybody.
And that's it. That's it in a nutshell. I don't think you could describe our league any other way. Like, I wasn't. See, in all honesty, I was not surprised at Bonington beating St Cadoc's. Was not surprised. Whitlets almost getting a turn out of Gartcairn. Listen, obviously Gartcairn won, credit to them, but the way that game went didn't surprise me. Nothing surprises me in this league. Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reality. See, if I said at the start of the season, see at the start of the season, whoever can start the best and win the most games in the trot will be in about it. And the same come January, February into the tail end of the season. And I still believe that.
Yeah.
Because you've got Benburb. I mean, we played Benburb, and I think they were third bottom when we played them. We beat them 2-0. They were still third bottom. And then they beat Bonington the other week, and they overtook us in third place. And I'm going, wait a wee minute, how's that just happened? How's the Bens just overtook us when we beat them about 5 weeks ago? They were third bottom.
Yeah.
So it just shows you the league's very competitive, and it's good.
And it shows you that conference system's worked a treat.
Oh, definitely. It certainly has, because teams obviously find a level through the course of a season. I wouldn't agree with that in us, but we lost to Uncle. No, I'm kidding on. Listen, Avdi's really deserved to be at the end of the day. And it'll be interesting to see how our league goes, Division 1. As you said, and I said, MD can beat MD. Nothing surprises me in that league.
Yeah, there's every West League this season so tight. It's a great advert for the leagues as well. Just we'll run down the women's results. Celtic 0, Motherwell 0, Hamilton 4, Glasgow Women 0 in SWPL 1. Montrose 7, St Johnstone 1 in SWPL 2. We do have obviously Scottish Cup action at the weekend. There's a lot of games to look at. The non-league sides of it, I want to get your thoughts on these. Darvel obviously play Aberdeen on Monday. Do you give Darvel a chance? They're 33-1 with the bookmakers. The bookmakers aren't giving them a chance. I've seen stranger things.
Listen, obviously I've not gambled in a couple of years. I was a gambler, but I've not done it for a couple of years. But if I was, I would certainly be putting 10 or 20 on Darvel at that price, 100% down at Darvel. Aberdeen's heads are down, and the pressure's on Aberdeen. Darvel, nothing to lose. They'll be buzzing. They've got the big tie. They're bringing Aberdeen to Darvel.
It's going to be some occasion for the club as well.
Well, there you go. Who would have thought someone would have said Aberdeen are coming to Darvel?
Mm-hmm.
Mick wouldn't even have thought that probably when he took the job on 4 years ago. So, what a time to be involved with them. And I genuinely think if they turn up and win their battles, then they've got every chance of winning the way Aberdeen's heads will be down just now.
Yeah, could be some occasion as well, obviously, in front of the TV cameras. Monday night's going to be a big occasion. Stirling Uni go to Dundee United. Obviously, it's going to be a tough ask for any team to go to a Premiership team and get a result. Stirling Uni, though, they'll go there, and again, it's a free hit. It
is a free hit, but see what I'll say about Stirling Uni, and this is something that maybe people don't talk about much. They're full time.
Yeah.
And I know Chris Geddes. I used to play against Geddes, and I always kind of thought it would be a good coach just with the way he applied himself as a player. And he will have them believing that if they go and match the fitness levels, which technically they should be, some students can find a different level of fitness compared to your ordinary guy.
Mm-hmm.
So they could certainly cause an upset at Dundee United as well.
Yeah. Linlithgow host Wraith as well. Again, Linlithgow.
See that's a tie that I'm interested to see the outcome, because obviously Talbot. See the Talbot and Wraith game. Was it not 0-0 for quite a large period of time?
Yeah, I think Wraith scored an extra time.
But was that the third, or was it 3 goals in 10 minutes or something?
Aye, I think it
was something like that. I think it was 3 goals in the last 20 minutes. So Linlithgow obviously are a massive club, similar to Talbot, and they're well supported in the East. And see the pitch sizes and stuff like that, they play into the equation so much. And I can see Linlithgow running them close as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of good ties in here as well. Obviously, Celtic host Morton on Saturday at 12:15. Rangers go to St Johnstone at 5:30 on Saturday. You've got obviously a couple of good games as well. And their Hearts play Hibs on Sunday. Big occasion. Again, just the Scottish Cup. What's it going to mean to Drumchapel if you get a result?
Oh, you won't see me for a week anyway. I've already told my wife and kids, listen, see if you don't see Daddy for a while, don't worry about it, I'm fine. But no, it means so much. I mean, see, if, me and William Chisholm, the club secretary, have been speaking about it, right? Obviously, if the game is off on Saturday, we'll know who we're seeing the Tuesday night, and we go up to Elgin to play them, we'll know who we're going to be facing.
Is it going to be the Tuesday night, if so?
Aye, unfortunately. We're meant to play Kilburnley, by the way, but obviously that'll get postponed. But we'll find out going up to when we go to play Elgin for a place in the last 16, we'll know who we're going to face. So that is probably the only positive about the game being off on Saturday.
I know you'll know like me asking you this, but if you get through, what would you want? Would you want a home tie against a big team?
No. I'm going to be greedy and think of the club and be Ibrox or Parkhead away. And for the boys, to be fair. Because listen, if you're a player, and even it doesn't matter if you're a Celtic fan, you're going to Ibrox to play, or if you're a Celtic Rangers fan going to Parkhead, that is something that you would never imagine doing this season. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? See, being a non-licensed, non-league club, the last thing you're thinking about is that, oh, wait a minute, I could be going to Parkhead to play against Celtic, or, oh, wait a minute, I could be going to Ibrox to play Rangers. That's just not even part of the thought process. Mm-hmm. But now, obviously, we're like, right, well, I'm basing this on after beating FC Edinburgh, by the way, because we still need to go and try and make a good account ourselves against Elgin. But we were all up the pub on the Monday night watching the draw, and we're just like, see when you've seen the names coming out the hat, and you're like, wow, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was obviously maybe a bit disappointing that St Johnstone get Rangers, 2 Premiership teams, and Hibs and Hearts. You know what I mean? But listen, we just need to go to Elgin, apply ourselves in the same manner we do week in, week out, and just make sure that we can compete and make a good account of ourselves. And I think if we do that, everybody will be proud of what we've achieved.
Yeah. Adam, we're wishing you all the best. Thank you very much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure.
No problem, Scott. Thanks for having me.
Man. Thank you very much to everyone. Thank you very much to everyone that's tuned in. Please follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube and podcast channels. And we'll be back next week for a new episode of the Scottish Football Show. We'll see you soon. Cheers.